Hello, I'm Corey, and I'll be narrating Soda Stereo's Secret Weapon. The album that changed everything. Signos, Spanish for signs, is the third studio album by the Argentine rock band Soda Stereo, released on November 10, 1986 by Columbia Records. The record marked a turning point in the band's career, consolidating a more mature sound and boosting their international projection. In 2007, it was remastered at Sterling Sound Studios in New York. The Argentine edition of Rolling Stone ranked it 25th on its list of the 100 greatest albums of Argentine rock. Soda Stereo's Secret Weapon, the album that changed everything, explores the story behind this iconic record. In June 1986, Soda Stereo went on holiday to various European countries for 25 days. The holiday started on the city of Madrid, Spain. Accompanied were Alberto Ohanian, manager of the band, and assistant of Ohanian and Argentine musician and friend of the band. The assistant came along with the band in an effort to expand his work in Europe and try to attract interest to produce the next album in Spain. For the next trip, they went to France. After these two trips, the band went to the United Kingdom. In this trip, Soda Stereo went to various music festivals, including the Glastonbury Festival. Here they met with Eddie Simmons, a future sound producer for the concerts in the Gira Animal. Simmons talked to the manager of Utwo and of the Waterboys with the aim of to record covers of Soda Stereo's songs in English, in order to test the Western market. The managers contacted Lene Lovich, where she offered to record a version of Jugos de Seduction in her private studio with Nina Hagen as backing vocals. The cover was played in radio stations and in the BBC, but had little success. Eddie Simmons also traveled along with the band to Abbey Road Studios with 2 vinyls of Not a Personal to try to convince them to record the album in the studio. After this, the band returned to Argentina, and Gustavo Cerati and Zeta Bosio made a short trip to New York City, where they attended concerts and bought new instruments. Soda Stereo's Secret Weapon, the album that changed everything, explores the genesis of this iconic record. Even though Soda Stereo had the money to record the album outside of Argentina, they decided to record the album in the Mobio Studios located in Buenos Aires. They felt pressured as they only had a month to record the album. The recording of the album started around mid-September 1986 and ended in mid-October. Not much detailed information is known about the recording of Signos, as Mobio Studios didn't preserve the recording sheets. One of the reasons that the band decided to record the album in the studio was due to audio engineer Mariano Lopez, and that Mobio provided 32 recording channels while most studios from Buenos Aires at that time provided 16 or 24 channels. However, issues arose as those 32 channels were provided by 2 16-channel Soundcraft consoles that had to be synchronized, which was a difficult process. For the album, drummer Charlie Alberti chose the Cymbals Zildjian series brilliant hi-hats and 14 Sabian crashes that were distinguished by a short and sharp sound. For the 10, 12, and 16 Remo Rotatums, he also chose sand-blasted drumheads because he was looking for a more tinny sound. In charge of the wind arrangements were Richard Coleman and Vazaran Pablo Rodriguez with the saxophone, while the keyboardist for Signos was Quintero, who this was his last work with the band. Backing vocalist Celsa Mel Gowland was also invited to the sessions. Soda Stereo hadn't composed any songs for the album, and the songs were developed in the rehearsal room located in Dr. Romulo Naan y Sucre Avenue. Cerati recorded demos of ideas he had with a TASCA M388 Porte studio in his flat to then be finished in the rehearsal room. However, the lyrics weren't finished. Cerati claimed that he wrote all the lyrics for the album in one night, but this untrue, as he only finished the lyrics he was working on in one night. Author Diego Giordano writes that this grew tension with Alberti and Bosio, causing discussions regarding the sharing of song royalties. Cerati argued that he composed the songs alone without the help of the rest, and claimed that he should have owned the royalties. Cerati also had problems with cocaine intoxication and had gone to the hospital several times. Soda Stereo's journey to musical prominence began with a groundbreaking album that reshaped their sound and captivated audiences. According to various sources, Signos was released on 10 November 1986 by Columbia Records. However, Giordano disagrees and writes that it was released on the 3rd. Signos was originally in the LP and cassette formats. Later, in March 1988, it was issued on the CD format, becoming, along with By Charlie Garcia, one of the first Argentine albums to be released in the format. Upon release, the album received a platinum certification in Argentina as 60,000 pre-orders were made before release. Bolivian records were issued in the EP format and only contained 4 songs. Sin Sobresaltos, No Exists, Persiana Americana, and Signos. Mexican records included text on the front cover reading Incluye los Exitos, Persiana Americana, Signos y Sin Sobresaltos. For promotion, Perfugos was released as a single with Signos as the B-side. Persiana Americana was released as the A-side to No Exists and also released as the B-side to Sobredosis de TV, a song from the first album of the band. No music videos were recorded for any of the songs in Signos as they didn't have any time to do so. Soda Stereo's Secret Weapon, the album that changed everything, introduced a groundbreaking sound to Brazilian rock. Following its release, Soda Stereo toured extensively across Latin America, performing in Chile, Paraguay, Peru, and Colombia. Their appearance at the 1987 Viña del Mar International Song Festival cemented their status as a continental phenomenon. The Signos tour was also marked by tragedy. In the city of San Nicolás, during a performance in a nightclub, a balcony collapsed due to overcrowding, resulting in the death of 5 people. Cerati later described the incident as part of the dark history of rock concerts in Argentina, lamenting the lack of safety measures at the time. Out of respect for the victims, the band performed their following shows at Obras Sanitarias without stage design or lighting. Soda Stereo's Secret Weapon, the album that changed everything, explores the pivotal moments that shaped the band's legacy. The covers of Signos are Polaroid arts made by Cato Lorenzo with Alfredo Lois. Bosio met Lorenzo at the end of the 1970s in a photography course. Years later, Lorenzo called Bosio to express an interest in working with Soda Stereo. His first work for the band was the Nada Personal VHS. Meanwhile, Lois was in charge of the graphic art, the staging of the concerts, the direction of the band's music videos, and designed the cover of the first 2 albums of the band. Lois maintained a friendship with Soda Stereo, with the first live performance of the band being in his birthday. For the covers, the band wanted something abstract. Lois and the band members were already familiar with Lorenzo's work with Polaroid art, where he mixed op art and pop art styles and used various experimental techniques in his work. Lorenzo first experimented with Polaroid arts after reading an interview in a French magazine with photographer David Hamilton. Jorge D'Afuncio, co-writer of Persiana Americana, had tried to convince the band to be designer of the cover by showing them his drawing folder in a meeting for the writing of the song. After having a discussion, the band decided to not let him design the cover. The back cover features more Polaroid art, which each one representing a song from the album. These photos were made before front cover, and Cerati chose what pictures would represent each song in a meeting with Lorenzo and Lois. No Exists features the lyric La Polaroid sobre la silla, which references this meeting. The front cover was the result of Lorenzo making a full exposure with warm light and a development process on which he placed fabrics between the surface of the Polaroid and the rollers, causing the chemicals to be unevenly distributed and the Polaroid to capture the fabric's texture. For the font, Lois decided that it had to be done by hand with templates and Rotring fountain pens. Lorenzo and Lois made an alphabet that they then photocopied it to cut them and make the letters into different sizes. Lois also changed the band's logo, which was placed in the top right corner of the front cover. Soda Stereo's Secret Weapon, the album that changed everything, explores the band's groundbreaking creation and its immediate impact. Signos was released on November 10, 1986, and became one of the first Argentine LPs also issued in compact disc format. Critics view Signos as a pivotal moment in Soda Stereo's discography, with a more cohesive and mature artistic direction than its predecessors. The music site Sputnik Music praised it as a cultural manifesto combining powerful instrumentation, striking vocals, and raw lyrics. On Album of the Year, the record holds a critic score of 90/100 and a user average of 84/100. By early 1987, it had already achieved platinum status in Argentina. Soda Stereo's Secret Weapon, the album that changed everything, explores the band's remarkable rise to fame. Chart 1986, peak position, Argentine albums, CAPIF, 1. Gustavo Cerati vocals, guitars, Zeta Bosio bass, backing vocals, Charlie Alberti drums, percussion. The early 80s Brazilian rock scene was on the cusp of a massive shift.